mill, woolen mill, cotton mill. Oh, looks beautiful.
Hi everybody, welcome to Scottish Autism Facebook Live. Great to have Gavin Neate from Neatebox with us. I've been really looking forward to having Gavin on. Those of you that follow me on Twitter will know that I'm always tweeting about the fabulous WelcoMe app, and after I saw it, it blew my mind, and I'm hoping you're all going to feel that way too, because a huge agenda for us at Scottish Autism is, of course, personalisation and personalised approaches. And the WelcoMe app has the real potential to personalise accessibility across businesses, shops, venues. It's really quite incredible. So welcome, Gavin.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here. We've gone from very not knowing each other to close pals on the Twitter sphere in no time at all, and it's been an absolute pleasure. And it's great to be here today. Thank you.
Likewise. So tell us a bit about you, Gavin, and Neatebox and your interest in disability issues.
Yeah, so my background is guide dogs for the blind. I trained guide dogs for 18 years. I joined guide dogs after being in the military. I did that for 10 years, working with dogs and then police attack dogs. And then I joined guide dogs thinking it'd be nice to have a dog that didn't bite people for a change. And the guide dogs were brilliant. I loved it. It was the best job in the world. I trained people how to use the dog. And then I would be following people. And when you're training somebody, you're on their shoulder to start with. And then as they get more competent and more happy with their interaction with the dog, you get further and further away.
Sorry.
And you end up just watching people from a distance rather than standing next to them. And when you do that, you see how people interact with people without being involved. And if you're a person in a power chair and you've got a carer with you, then the person you're talking to will talk to the carer initially, even before they talk to you. And I was just like, I need to find a way around that. I need to find a solution to this because it just didn't seem to be working the way it was.
Thanks for that. Sorry about my useless technical ability to turn my phone on and not turn it down. So apologies to everybody who heard us talking there, but I'm going to keep an eye on the questions for later. Tell us a bit about how the app came about, how the WelcoMe app came about. Tell us how you thought of that.
Yeah, so it was me realizing, it was a combination of things, really. I started getting interested in technology because my clients were turning up to train with guide dogs and they all had smartphones that were talking to them. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. I started getting interested in GPS, geolocating, and where people were in the environment. I started realizing that nobody else was addressing some of the problems that I'd seen. And one of the big problems was, how does somebody interact with somebody in an environment where it's customer service? And I was like, well, no, you're relying on staff training that might have happened 2 years before, and staff training that wasn't necessarily given by somebody who maybe had that disability that they were telling you about. And I was like, there's no, how does that stay in somebody's brain after a period of time? So I just wanted to find a way to train staff based on my location in proximity to them. And by doing that, I then looked at the very real issue of the fact that if you train somebody how to interact, they have all the power. Whereas if you train them how to interact, then it's all about you. And you're saying, this is what I want, and this is how I want you to interact with me. And that balance of power had been lacking, and that's what I wanted to fix.
I think that's a brilliant ethos, and I wish more people shared it. And I think that will resonate with a lot of autistic people who are watching, because there's a lot of feeling that things are done to people rather than with people, and that things can be and should be more led by individuals themselves. So
it's a combination. You need to have training, but you also need to know that each individual is exactly that, an individual. And the other thing that I realized very quickly was that blind people with guide dogs and long canes are very visible, but 75% of people have hidden disabilities, which is why I started becoming interested in acquired brain injury, dementia, autism, and hearing impairment and epilepsy, and all these other conditions where you have to self-declare. And who wants to do that in public? It's not, you don't feel that comfortable going, hello, my name's Gavin, I'm an autistic person, but I'd like a coffee, please. Nobody wants to do that.
Yeah, and nor should they need to. So
no.
You're going to give us a bit of a demo about this fabulous app and the things that it can do. So what we're going to do is turn the screen over to Gavin for a while, who's going to do a short presentation. And if you've got any questions, keep them coming in, and I will do my absolute best to keep an eye on them, and we can have a question and answer discussion at the end. So over to you, Gavin. Thanks.
Great, thank you very much. I prefer talking one-to-one, but sometimes you need to show people just exactly what something does. And just as a background, very quickly, it's an app that you download, and you then set up visits to say where you want to go and what you want when you get there. The venue has a screen on their computer where they can actually see the information you want them to know. So it's not just one app, it's you've got an app and they've got access to the internet where they can see your information. So, or the information that you want them to see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen just now, and I will show you just some of the reasons that COVID-19 have been creating some real issues around here. So we've got situations where blind people are having problems queuing, guide dogs aren't social distancing, disabled people are left off the vulnerability list. Again, with guide dog owners with social distancing, people with face masks or not face masks. This was a situation where somebody was told you can't come in with a carer, it's one at a time. This is a chap with autism who was denied priority entry because they didn't know he was somebody who was autistic. And a person left humiliated because they couldn't go into the shop. And when you see these all the time, you just think we need a solution here, because during COVID-19, this is just, it's just not working, not coming in, because you can't get in priority because you don't look disabled, was the lady there. So what we looked at was a way of actually finding a way to inform people based on your proximity to the venue. And this is it, really. This is a mobile phone. This is as I explained. You set up a visit on a mobile phone. You walk towards the venue. You get within a certain distance of the venue using a geolocation or your proximity awareness on your phone, and just walking into this area because you want them to know. It doesn't happen unless you've set up the visit. The people in the venue get a message to say who you are and what your needs are and how you're actually going to be utilizing the equipment. This is information that then pops across, and I'm just going to need to go through this just quickly, come out of this and then share my screen again because I need to show you something else. And it should be, oh, okay, not gonna be able to. Right, so what we were able to do is to get somebody so they were walking towards the venue and get information on the arrival. And when you arrive, sorry, apologies, stop presenting. I need to go back. That's a nightmare when this happens. Anyway, right, so you walk through the door and they get a photograph. They get an overview of what you want them to know about. This is just very basic stuff that you would get if you went to Scottish Autism website. They get top tips, which have been provided to us by Scottish Autism. And then they get information on what you want to do that day. So you might say, I would like to buy some shoes, size 9, black. And then the person would meet you at the door and say, hello, John, I know you're here to buy some shoes. If you'd like to follow me, we have some cleaner, cleaner on the right-hand side there, which you may be able to use if you would like to use that. And we understand social distancing and we're wearing PPE or wherever it might be. So the person knows exactly how they need to interact with you when you walk through the door. And that's because you want them to know about that. And that's the system. It is so simple. And our biggest challenge for everybody is to get that message out there that this is possible. The beautiful thing that we have within the system is that you can say where you want it next. So we've got 13 million disabled people in the United Kingdom. A large percentage of those people want to go out and they want to visit places and they want to do stuff. They can actually say where they want to see this system installed next. And I'll just quickly show you the information that pops up on the screen. We've got it here. So this is Gavin, he wants to visit. It's an information here about a train station. I'm catching the 12:45. It would be great to use the toilet before I leave. I'm deaf in my left ear this morning, so it would be great if somebody gave me assistance. And then there's top tips on how you actually interact with Gavin based on the information that we've been given by the different organizations. I then hit an accept button that sends a message through to Gavin to say we know you're coming, and from there when he hits the geofence we know that he's close to the actual building. And that is pretty much it. Getting you guys to say what you want, where you want it, and even changes to the app and how you want it to be better for you, we're open to that. Engage with us because we're here to engage with you.
Well, that's fantastic. So from that, what I got is you download the app, you're in control of what goes into it, and you use that to contact the venue to say what your needs are. The venue say, yes, we can meet those needs, and off you go. And I'd imagine the stress for people will come right down.
Yeah, well, you walk through the door, Charlene, and somebody comes up to you, and if you want them to, and they say, hello, my name's Mike, I'm the customer service representative here. I know that you're wanting a cup of coffee to travel to here. You've got a job interview, whatever it might be. So they just make it easier for you.
So there's no cost to the individual who's using the app. So people might think, oh, well, how does that work then? You know, if I'm not paying for it, who's paying for it? Tell us a bit about how the economics of it work, Gavin.
Yeah, so when I was in guide dogs, the recognition for me was that if you bought tech, the tech cost you a fortune, and then you had to buy some specialist kit to go onto that tech, which then cost you a fortune on top of that. And I always saw disability as being some form of extra tax on your need to have accessible kit. And I just thought from the get-go when I started the company in 2011, I just thought no disabled person is ever going to pay for my stuff. And I'm going to have to find a better way for people for me to get income, because I need income to actually pay my staff and to develop it, to grow it across the world. So what I did was I realized that if the venue paid a monthly subscription, they paid £30 a month, and they then made £150 a month from people coming in and buying coffee or whatever it was. I mean, they could make a lot more than that. If you installed it in IKEA for £30 a month, they could sell £500 worth of stuff from people using this. So the business wins because they're making money from people coming in. The person going in wins because they want to spend their money in that shop that they know they're going to get welcomed in. And my company wins because I get a chance to grow the company into America and China and Australia and South Africa and all these other countries.
So it's a simple enough model. So how do we encourage more businesses to use it? Because I can't imagine if someone from Sainsbury's or IKEA or, you know, a big business was watching this and thought, for £30 a month, I could attract a whole new customer base, which benefits my business, but also benefits disabled people in terms of better accessibility. I can't imagine anybody having much argument with that.
Well, you saw all of the press reports at the start of my presentation there. That's what's been happening. It's been, this is where it's going wrong. Complaint, 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 because people have had a reason to complain. But nobody said, this is where it's going wrong, this is how you should fix it. And that's the biggest issue. We've got an entire country of people who spend £274 billion a year, disabled people, who are saying this isn't working, but aren't necessarily saying here's the solution. So if every autistic person in the UK said, I want this in my local Costa Coffee, or I want it in IKEA, I guarantee you within a week, they are going to be talking to us and we're going to be saying, so this is people power. It's up to the people out there, disabled people, any person who's disabled, or indeed carers or practitioners or family members who say, I want my mum who's going into the post office, who has dementia, I want her to get better service when she goes in because she forgets what she's gone for. But if she's running this system, she can walk through the door and somebody will know. We need people to download the app and then start requesting venues to us, but also start talking to their councils and their shops that they want to include it.
So it's the simple answer is ask. And the more people who ask, the more it will appear. I mean, I think that's, you know, it's slightly frustrating because, as you say, there's no cost to the person who's actually using the app, and it's such a power to change it and make life much more accessible. It's really interesting for us at Scottish Autism because we've just run our My 5 campaign.
Yeah.
That people were having problems around supermarkets, and when I saw the things that people were finding problematic, I immediately thought of the WelcoMe app. What do you think? Is there anything in terms of limitations? Do you think there's anything that would be unreasonable, or do you think that in your experience of people who've used it, have people generally made the adjustments that have been asked for?
Yeah, all the businesses that have embraced it so far have all really embraced it because they saw the benefits. And I've got on the app, you'll see how many people are using it. And we've got about 64 venues so far. But so far, Scottish Government, Scottish Parliament, Royal Bank of Scotland have got 15 branches. House of Fraser in Edinburgh use it. Edinburgh Festival Fringe, Deloitte, Queen's Hall in Edinburgh, Edinburgh Printmakers, Blackwood Housing, Guide Dogs for the Blind have got it. Diageo have got it. Nuffield Health, Edinburgh Airport, Seascape, Falkirk Wheel, Falkirk Community Trust. Everybody who's used it, every business has engaged with it because they go and, yeah, we want to be better. I think the problem is that we're still educating, and sometimes people don't understand it. When they see it, they understand it. But if you don't think disabled people are coming to your shop, then you might think, but I don't have disabled people coming to my shop. You see, they would do if you provided a service. So promote that you are accessible, promote that you are inclusive, promote that you use a service that actually helps your staff give better service, and help your staff give better service. And then you'll see so many more people actually using your services, which is what we want. Limitations are that this is not take over from staff training. This is not instead of staff training. People need awareness training. When you go in, when you meet somebody with autism a person with autism for the first time, you learn that that person is not a scary person. If you meet somebody who's not autistic and they do your training, you still haven't got used to the fact that this is not a scary person. So when you meet your first person, you then go, oh, I'm a little bit worried about this environment. Whereas if autistic people do the training and go out and do the awareness training, then, or people with cerebral palsy, people in power chairs, people who are visually impaired, then at the very least that person is actually learning that this is just the same person as anybody else. You just have to put in a couple of tiny little changes.
Yeah. And they're doing that training just by being them and engaging with the environment.
Go into a business, you are training somebody by walking through the door.
Yeah, yeah. It would be really good if the people watching would put in some ideas about where would be good to have the app and any questions. So we're open for questions if anybody wants to post them. I'm doing my best to keep an eye on the...
Juggling two things at the same time there.
Yeah, which is something I'm not very good at. From
well, I would say, while you're waiting for questions to come in, if somebody wants to download the app, again, it's totally free, and we don't collect data, and you don't even need to put in your home address. It's called WelcoMe by Neatebox. And Neatebox is Neatebox. There's an E in the middle because it's my name. And if people download that, they can then go to help, and then they can actually start requesting venues.
Brilliant.
They'll also see all of the different venues we've got on the system.
And we'll put that information up on our website and on our Facebook page once about that. So there's someone saying, commenting that fundamentally this is just about understanding people. Breaking down the barriers. I think that's it's about two people meeting. You know, you hear all the time that somebody says you make up your mind about somebody in the first 30 seconds. Well, what we're doing is we're making it so if you want them to know before you walk through the door, you've already had that welcome before you walk through the door. If you want it, it might be I want to walk through the door and you to ignore me, because overhelping is also a problem. Yeah.
So yeah, but it's a handshake. It's why we call it welcome.
Yeah.
Why we say.
And I think that's the overhelping is really, really important, because back in the day when I was a Saturday girl, I worked in a shoe shop, and the manager tried to tell us to approach people and say, "Good afternoon, madam. It's a lovely day for buying a pair of shoes." And I thought, you don't pay me enough to be that ridiculous. No, I'm not going to do that.
Well, but if you knew somebody wanted that,
yeah,
you
exactly,
was looking for you to help them before they came through the door, and then when they walked through the door, you went, "I recognize that person. I'm going to go and help them." But if you recognize a person and it said, "Please don't approach me. I'm very happy to just browse and then leave, and I'll approach you if I need help," that person's going to have a better shopping experience.
So that's the thing about how people are recognised then. Presumably people can upload a photograph so that the shop owners or staff recognise the person as they come.
And if you wanted to say, "I'll be wearing a red hat and here's the picture of the hat," that would work well if you didn't want your photograph out there. You can also put an undisclosed condition, in which case they just know they have to be more wary. Of course, it doesn't necessarily help them with how they interact, but it means that they are a little bit more attuned. And of course, the great thing about this is that if you're using the app, and let's just say you're a guide dog owner and you're using the app, and then the next 10 guide dog owners aren't using the app. Well, the fact that you use the app means that the next 10 people who walk through the door will get better assistance because you used it, because you've upskilled the staff members. And I think that's the beauty of this system. Fantastic.
And we've got a comment, maybe a question from Gavin here. This is a really great, it's really great to hear about. We're running a neighbourhood-based dementia friendly project and have a digital strand, and this sort of fills a gap in a lot of dementia initiatives out there. Does your app connect up with Keep Safe, Public Loos and Changing Places initiatives?
So I know the guys at Changing Places, Pamela and a lot of these guys, and Keep Safe is an absolute corker. So if somebody was part of the Keep Safe, then that would be advertised. When you download the app later, Kevin, you'll see that it gives you information about the venue. And if the venue is a member of any of these things, they can write it in there with a link to the actual program that they're a member of. And we worked with the guys at Upstream and Deep to do some work with LNER recently. Andy Hyde, who is an amazing fellow if you've not worked with him or met him before, but we're very attuned. We're not experts in all disabilities. In fact, I'm an expert in visual impairment or mobility within visual impairment, but we're learning from everybody. They teach us, but luckily we just add that information into the system.
Yeah, and we've got Danielle who's saying, what was the app called again? I missed it. So what we will do is put the details on the Facebook page following the presentation. We should have thought about putting that up really, but there you go. we live and learn. This is the new world. Jade is saying, with multiple members of my family with autism, who do we make the profile for?
Well, if you're going out together as a group, you could potentially put in a group photograph of everybody going, we're all here together today. And that would be cool. But it's up to you, really. You could have one person who wanted to be the spokesperson, but equally, you could have it as your youngest member and say, you're in control today. They're going to greet you if you want them to, but it's totally up to you. You can decide. You could have, every single person could have it on their phone if you wanted to.
Yeah. And that's the thing, isn't it? It's got the flexibility to have, you know, everyone have it and use it individually, or if you've got family outing, if you're all going out. That sounds brilliant, Jade. I hope that was helpful. Just having a wee check to make sure I've not missed anybody. Yeah, Danielle's happy about that answer.
Welcome by Neatebox. When we designed the logo, we called it Welcome, but then we changed the M and the E at the end into a different font. So when you look at it, it looks like Welcome Me, because this is all about how you interact with me. I'm the guy spending money in your shop. So help me spend my money and I'll come back again and I'll love you for it.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? That's the thing. So in terms of folk who are watching, the message really is download the app, give it a go. And you're saying you don't collect any data. Do the stores collect data? Because data's a worry for people, isn't it?
Yeah, all the information about the visit drops off the screen at the end of the day. It's the same if you had a credit card and you had your credit card over, then they could potentially collect that data, but it would be illegal. We would know exactly where somebody was collecting this data from. But no, we don't sell data. Everything that I do is all about the person. The venue itself will get information how many people used or how. So Edinburgh Airport had 72 visits last year, and we can say of that 10 people had a visual impairment or 5 people were with mobility power chair users, but it's all anonymized. They don't know names or anything beyond that. And we don't ask for age. We don't ask for home address. You don't even have to put in your real name. You can have Mr. Smith or whatever you want. Norman the Happy Pig, if you want to. You can do whatever you want. This is about
Madonna.
Get to know us, because this is all about my heart. I want you to get better customer service. But if it takes time to trust my company and me, do that. Take time. Don't have to do it overnight. If it takes you 6 months before you feel comfortable, that's great. But communicate with me and I will help you feel as comfortable as I possibly can.
Brilliant. And I can vouch for that. Gavin is he comes from a good place. He's hard. Danielle's come back and saying about my grandson who's non-verbal, who's autistic, an alert badge from America with the name and phone number on it. So this goes way beyond that for your grandson, son Danielle. good news for you, Gavin. Kevin Googled the WelcoMe app and it came out top on Google. There's an interesting question here from Joanna who's asking, is there support available to people to help them set up their accounts?
Yeah, so if you have a problem, just get in touch with me or hello@neatebox.com and we will help you set up the account. It is easy enough to do. There is a video and I'll put a link of the video to show what it does, but it would be really good for us to have a how-to. It should be easy enough, but if you have any problems, drop me a line because that's obviously massively important. And I know people will be anxious before they even download it as to whether it will be difficult, and that's a barrier. So yeah, hello@neatebox.com and links everywhere.
Yeah, and just from our point of view as, you know, friends and partners, we will be more than happy to talk people through if they get really stuck and that's a worry. We've got Peter here asking, is it actually suitable for all businesses? What are most businesses' reaction to the app? Is it all positive?
So one of the things that we were asked to start with was, how many users do you have? And of course we were saying, well, we've got 500 users. And they would say, oh no, we need you to push people to our shop. Their reason for having it was because they wanted more people coming to their store. So we said to House of Fraser, when they asked us that question, we said, how many people follow you on Facebook? And they said, well, we've got about 350,000. You advertise it once on 350,000, our 500 users are going to be irrelevant. You're going to be pushing it to your users. So that was one of the questions to start with, but that's always a question when you start something, is how many users do you have? And some people said, well, no, you're not going to push people to our store, therefore we're not going to make money out of it, therefore we're not going to get engaged. But all the guys that have got involved so far have said, like, we understand this is going to take time to actually start the ball rolling, but that's why I do things like this and talk to you guys, is to get that ball really rolling, and to get it rolling in Scotland. Glasgow and Edinburgh and Falkirk and Dundee are our biggest areas where we've got more venues than anywhere else, but we want them in Aberdeen. Well, we've got one in Aberdeen. We want them in Inverness, Perth, Dunfermline. We want them everywhere. So that's the plan, spread it out.
Just came to me as you were talking there, Gavin, you know, there's a lot of talk about supporting autistic people and other disabled people into other people with disabilities into the workplace. Could the app be used for accessibility around recruitment and interviewing and work? Well,
it's kind of that was Peter's question, which is, where else could it be used, or where couldn't it be? But imagine having it in the Department of Work and Pensions, so that when you open the door and the security guard, who's normally G4S, goes, you look a bit dodgy, because you've maybe got ataxia or Parkinson's, you maybe look drunk because you've got a balance issue, and that you're met with a frown. Well, that could get you back into that employment area, because the person meets you on the door and goes, hi, good to see you, come on in, rather than, all right, mate, anything problem today? So yeah, we've got it installed with airports and businesses and offices, and we haven't got Department of Work and Pensions yet. We haven't got IKEA yet, which is really annoying me.
Come on, IKEA.
Yeah, well, they've got 13 requests. Come on, IKEA. If we had 500 requests, get it done. Train stations, Waverley have got it. We need to switch that on. We've heard of other ones. We've got a university talking to us. We've got 2 train stations. Irish Rail are just about to go live, and we have 2 hospitals. I can't tell you who they are yet, but we've got 2 hospitals, one in Glasgow and one in Dundee. That'll give it away. That are looking to install the system. And if we can prove that we can help people's journey through a hospital or a health centre, dentists, physiotherapists, all these people could improve their customer service. Anywhere where you are being met by somebody whose job it is to meet you and greet you, we can, or sell stuff to you, we can improve.
Yeah, brilliant. Now, somebody's shouting, hurry up, IKEA. It's Jade. Yes.
Jade, get involved.
Hurry up.
We can do it.
My lovely friends who are in the background are posting the link to the app. Kevin's come back saying, I suppose it's one thing to have an app, but it is as important for staff at venues to do training around access and particularly invisible disabilities. Do you link venues that sign up to training, Dementia Friends and the local disabilities groups and access panels?
So we haven't linked with any access panels yet. We need people to come to us and say we provide services. We were talking to, there's an organisation down in Brighton that said we do training. Could you recommend our training if a company says, because we say to every company, you can install WelcoMe, but we need you to go and get training as well. And where we know of companies that deliver that training, we then link them to that company or that business. The challenge for us is where we know that there are lots of different organizations that only look after one particular sector. If you say to a bank of Barclays Bank, and you say, here's 50 different charities and you're going to have to pay to get every single one of them in, well, not only is that going to be cost restrictive, but the time that you have for the staff. And then when you put that training into a supermarket, within 6 months, you might have lost 10% of your staff.
Yeah,
so it's really hard.
And of course, what you're saying is it's personalised training. It's training for how to support that, you know, Joe Blogs as he walks through the door that day. And then that's one of the big challenges. I think a lot of autistic people get frustrated that people think, you know, autism's like Rain Man, or it's like the wee boy of the A word, or it's whatever. Whereas what you're doing here is actually every single autistic person who walks through that door is training them in the individuality of being an autistic person.
So there are 3 people that work for my company, myself, Alan, and Caro. Caro grew up with ADHD and her daughter is autistic. And she tells us all the time, right, okay, this will be really good, this will be really good, this is good stuff. But the truth is that I want to be in a situation where the individual, we don't want to do, I love 1 hour shopping once a week. I think that's absolutely fine because it's a step. But I want somebody, the music to be turned down purely because they know that you're just about to walk through the door. And they go, quickly, turn the music down, John's coming in, music goes down.
Brilliant.
Or they turn off the Dyson hand dryer purely because they know that you're going to be coming in 5 minutes. Just that stuff. Personally,
what a world that would be, wouldn't it?
Please.
Gavin, we're coming to the end of our time. So how about a final message? I think Jade was shouting, hurry up, IKEA. I need to shout, hurry up, Jade. And
yeah, Jade, you can help.
And everybody else.
Everybody.
In the nicest possible way, Jade. Gavin, do you want to leave us with some final thoughts or a final message or an ask?
So share the app with your friends. If you know somebody, share it with them. Also, I've heard a lot of people saying that's no use for me because I've got a carer with me and my carer does all the stuff. I've always said to people, and disabled people need to think about this, is to think outside of your own group. Think, oh yeah, my gran has dementia. Oh, she could potentially use this, or just widen it and think about the other people that could use it and start talking about it, but not just talking about the problems, but suggest the solutions. If you know a solution and you see somebody else saying, here's a problem, don't just agree with them that that's a problem. Say, I've heard of a solution. And it doesn't have to be my solution. We need to be a nation of people that come up with solutions, not just identify problems. The charities generally will go through a 2-year period of then looking for a problem, but looking at what the problems are. Occasionally, charities like yours will come up with, here's a solution and here's what we need to do. But that needs to keep rolling. And it's very difficult for a charity to continually roll that information all the time, whereas we want to be able to help the charity roll that information all the time, which is why we provide links to the charity on the site.
Absolutely. I was hoping to give you a last word, but there's a really interesting point. There's a few things I just, let's hold on for another 5 minutes and be cheeky.
If we can.
We won't get cut off. Danielle is saying, so could we email businesses and ask them to take on the app? I'm guessing they could, or Danielle could download the app, say where she wants it used, and you contact the businesses.
100%. If we do a double team here, if you say they should have it and they then contact us and we say they should have it, or you contact, we'll get everybody saying it, and then it's impossible. We had a lady, I can't tell you the name of the building society, but they contacted me last week and we had a meeting because a lady had gone into this building society in Newcastle and said, have you guys got the WelcoMe app? And they'd said no, and then they'd researched it, and then they contacted me. It could be that we could install in that building society because one person suggested it.
Perfect, perfect. Kevin's saying it's really exciting, gets away from social labelling. Absolutely, Kevin. Lorraine, this is going to be our last question because I think it's probably one that people at home will be wondering about. So on a local level, is there a potential for lower costs for small businesses? Because a lot of people will be struggling just now. it would be fantastic to sign up so many more groups, shops, health-related surgeries and schools, etc. So what do you say to that, Gavin?
It's a great question, and we've got 4 tiers. One is airports. So Heathrow Airport has a terminal. We would do Terminal 5 and it would cost a certain amount of money. We then do banks and building societies and multiple venues, and they will be charged a certain amount of fee. Then we go down to coffee shops and independents. That's like £20 a month. With a very small setup fee, and then so £20 a month is what, 4 coffees. If you go in and spend money on 4 coffees, then they've already paid for it, and then of course their staff are being trained and all the other things. And then charities are right down the bottom there. We give it to charities for £1 a month, just so that the charity can then promote it to their users, and the users can use it somewhere that's really easy and safe to use. So that's our plan. Charities, minimal cost. Small independents, £20 a month, because obviously we need to be able to get the income from that. But we know that most small organisations can make £25 a month, and they're getting at least £5 profit at that point.
Yeah, which is just, you know, I think it goes to show that this is a it comes from your heart. It is a real cause for you, which is something I really admire and appreciate. I'm hoping, Gavin, that the people who've watched that are now downloading the app, I'm hoping that all the people who will watch this subsequently will download the app. I'm going to continue to champion the app on Twitter because I think it is personalised accessibility. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for spending your time with me this afternoon. I really enjoy it. I love your enthusiasm. And I think it's that positivity, it's the solution-focused piece that we really need to do now in order to make real sustainable change. So thanks a million, Gavin, and we'll keep in touch with you, and all the best.
It's a total pleasure. Remember, everybody, this is Scottish. I don't sound it, but it's a Scottish company, and it started here. Rest of the world, let's do it. Cheers, guys. Please contact me.
Cheers. Thanks a million.
Thank
Thanks, folks, for watching. Cheers.